I woke up at about 6 a.m. this morning, and I went and made some coffee, and I got in the shower, and I walked out on the back porch in my robe, and it just absolutely hit me like a ton of bricks how we defeat the New World Order, how we turn the tide against these people. And it's so incredibly simple and hiding in everyone's face. And I made the determination to come in here this morning and to put out this basic idea. And it's an idea you've heard before, but it hit me how essential it is. And it's so simple, but so also powerful at the same time that it's hard to even properly describe it. And so what I'm going to do is, I'm just not even going to say it right now. Because when you're having a clear thought, there's just thousands of data points condensed into that clarion understanding. But then how do you communicate that and express that in a way that is simply put, but also carries the great depth of palette and bouquet? And then I walked in here and began going over the giant stacks of news the guys had printed off from every major news source out there, alternative and dinosaur, governmental and corporate, grassroots and establishment, and staring down at the page I saw being said by Ted Cruz exactly what I was going to come on air and say to you today. That it's here. We're being prepared for total martial law, total surveillance, total taxation, total control, a revolution of criminality. And the only answer is to not become acclimated by it. We're at that key point where it's emerged, it's out in the open, before it goes to the next level of open takeover. And this is really happening. It's now here. And we're only seeing a few prominent people tell it like it is. And even though it's simple and it's true, in a world of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. And when we come back, I'll quantify what I'm getting at here. But here's the CBS News article. It's up on Infowars.com. It's on the right-hand side of DrudgeReport.com. It's the easiest place to find it. Cruz calls president dangerous and terrifying. You see, people say, oh, don't use flowery, dark rhetoric, tyrannical rhetoric. You know, everybody does that to demonize politicians. No. When the shoe fits, when it's true, it's true. And we've all, even myself, gotten comfortable living in the beginnings of serious tyranny. And we need to struggle and freak out. And we need to call the president out. And let me just tell you something. This is the type of stuff they blow your airplane up over. When you're a leader and well-spoken and intellectual, the establishment, I can guarantee you, is scared of Ted Cruz. Even if they think he's part of the establishment and is going to double-cross libertarians down the road, and I have no proof of that happening. But you can't put your faith in man. Got to put it in God. The point is, just the way he's challenging them is the way another rival group would take over from this elite. I mean, this is leadership right here. This is how you talk to bring down tyrants. This is the answer. Telling it like it is. Getting hardcore serious. We'll be right back. Ask yourselves, what are you doing in this time of great challenge? What are you doing to unlock minds? Okay, we have obviously an incredible amount of news on the economy, on the NSA, on surveillance, on what's happening with the military, Governor Christie. So much is going on, and we will cover it all today. And we have two guests, including one of my favorite guests in studio, Dr. Group. And then we have a constitutional lawyer popping in the third hour, and Jakari Jackson and crew. They've got a lot of radiation findings, a lot of the news good, some of it bad, in Northern California into Oregon. The good news is most of Oregon and California does not have higher levels of radiation. The bad news is, and we've talked to physicists and others, the levels that are 1,000 times, 1,400 times higher than what is safe in the background is very serious. And the fact that the media poo-poos it, the fact that government says, yeah, the health department confirmed that in San Francisco, but we're not worried about it. And they've got a new article out of the Santa Cruz Sentinel. State rebuffs radiation concerns at beach. Basically halfway whitewashes what's going on, but does state some of the facts. So it's a pretty good article out of Dinosaur Media from Half Moon Bay, where we did find the highest readings. We found 1,000 times. Others found 1,400 times. And the county health department confirmed 500 times where they went and looked. And we have 4 different professional Geiger counters, and you can read the settings. And we've had radiologists and physicists and nuclear cleanup specialists look at our videos, look at it. They say, no, that's all just dead on, like reading a clock. That's what's going on there. And that just 30 years ago or 25 years ago, they would tell folks, don't be anywhere around that period in case you ingest any of where that radiation's coming from. Because it's one thing to have the background that's 1,000 times what it should be, and your body can handle it unless you sat there by it for a year. But if you ingest any of that, then it goes into the tissues and just sits there at point-blank range, radiating your body, even at a low level, and you get cancer. And that's just a fact. That's why DU, even though it's low-level radiation, is highly toxic, and at point-blank range goes into the cells, and you're toast. And our troops are breathing this stuff that's a death sentence, and they knew that when they authorized it. And the reason this radiation story is so big is it's not even about the radiation. That's secondary. It's that it's weird, according to the mainstream media and radio talk show hosts out in California and others that have been critical of us, to want to go and investigate and look. Investigation is a bad thing. Being informed is like having leprosy or something with yuppies and establishment trendies who really just want to think everything's fine when all the metrics, all the gauges, all the indicators show things are not fine. If we're on the deck of the Titanic, it's listing over, about to basically break in two. I don't want that to happen. I live here. My family lives here. Your family lives here. I don't want there to be a stock market crash, even though it's valued, many of the top companies, 100-to-1 price-earnings ratio. It was 25, 30-to-1 in 1929 in the big crash. I mean, this is like a big rotten heart that's had 20 heart attacks and half the heart's dead, and it's got 20 stents in it, and the guy's taking Viagra and snorting cocaine. I mean, is that a good idea? That heart is going to blow wide open. That's what hearts do when they're all rotten. They just blow in different directions, and you die instantly. And that's what all the armored vehicles and the riot training is for. They admit it. But it's not like they did all this to counter something that was an accident. This was all engineered. It's been done in other countries over and over again, and it's going to end this country as we know it. And Homeland Security is meant to absorb the nation as it collapses into this dark tyranny that is called Agenda 21. Designed to impoverish this nation, designed to break the back of rural communities especially and farmers, designed to make us dependent on the system, designed to totally domesticate us. We are truly going into the nastiest, most scientific, most control freak, autocratic, authoritarian oppression the world has ever seen. This is certified cultural death, political death. This is certified 24-karat evil. 24 carats, pure gold, folks. Well, this is pure tyranny. if you judge it on that scale, it is 24 karat pure. Pure. And that is the one thing you cannot admire, but at least marvel at, is the people at the top of this are committed and consciously, premeditatedly doing this. Now, they use all the nihilists and the mercenaries and the psychos and the pervs and the control freaks and the people that have got scores to settle and the mentally ill leftists who are really just authoritarian control freaks calling themselves the establishment, calling themselves the answer, calling themselves the high ground, calling themselves the authority. That's why they always lecture down as if they're the boss, and most people respond to it as if they're the boss and have the moral authority, when they are part of a locust swarm, historically, that takes over civilizations. Now, all of that said, I want to talk about a really strong realization that I had this morning at about 6:30, looking out into the fog over the Texas hill country. And it was this. Though the landscape was shrouded in fog, my mind was completely clear that we can beat these people. And the answer to defeating them is withdrawing our political, cultural, economic consent at every level we can and criticizing the system, exposing the system as alien, fraudulent, anti-liberty, exposing that the system is the author of our present collapsing system, that they are to blame. And when you're faced with real tyranny, and when you're faced historically with something so premeditatedly evil, it's hard to believe you're living in that historical time. But that's what happens over and over again, is people respond like deer in the headlights. I've studied history deeply. And if you respond like a deer in the headlights, even though now you know the car's oncoming, you know the tyranny's real, the NSA spying, the open borders, the plan to shut the country down, to bankrupt everybody for control, the globalism, all of it, the plan to take over families, put us in 200-square-foot coffin apartments with total taxation, total surveillance. You know, I saw the car as it rounded a mountain 20 miles away, and I said, that's tyranny coming historically. And then a lot of people woke up as the car came down the road a mile away. And then now the car's 200 yards away, going about 80 miles an hour, and we're standing here in the middle of the road, and it's going to hit us unless we simply recognize it's happening and step out of the road and let the tyranny basically pass. All we've got to do is withdraw our consent. It's that easy. We step aside, the car basically disappears. We don't give it support, moral support, any of it. We realize that it's a fraud and that we've been under literally a political spell of high-tech mind control, and you break that spell in yourself and in others. Even if you're awake to what's happening, you've got to realize that you are a leader and that you can affect change, and that simply criticizing the system and supporting alternative systems and withdrawing your consent and speaking out against the system and declaring it the enemy, declaring it the fraud, declaring it the criminal institution it is, will defeat it. It will take its authority away. It will show it to be the fraud it is, no matter how many guns and bullets and how much surveillance it's got. The people will see the emperor is butt naked and wearing no clothes. We're going to skip this network break because this is so important what I'm about to say. And it hit me this morning. We've got to call out Obama and the entire system as gangster, thug, certified criminals who have conned the public and been caught and discredited, because the polls show that, and we have to declare victory and declare them impeached by the public in the court of public opinion. And we have to go after corrupt officials in counties, cities, states, you name it, when the system that's been trying to bully us and intimidate us and dominate us and break our will like a pimp breaks a woman's will that he's turning into a sex slave. They have tried to break our will. We have to find our fighting spirit again and understand resistance is victory. And you tend to not want to call it out as evil as it is because you don't want to alarm people, or you don't want them to disagree with you, or you don't want to stand out. But once you start standing out, it's going to feel good. You're going to know you're turning the tide. You're going to know that no matter what comes, you're now in forward motion, engaging the enemy that's attacking us. We are defensive, but we're already under attack, so that is an offensive move. We didn't draw first blood or the billionth blood, and we're not going to draw physical blood. But we're moving towards the point where they're going to lose politically. They're going to come in with physical force, ladies and gentlemen, and persecution. They've already been doing it with the IRS and the FBI. The FBI's announced they're not going to do white-collar fraud anymore because the government runs that. They're going to go after political people as a new commissariat, as commissars. This is historical what's happening. And it's vital that people in the government across the board do not comply. Drag your feet. Leak information. You don't have to even be a hero and say no and get fired or leave like one of the top Secret Service agents, Bongino. But look how he left, exposed the system, and now is running for Congress to get in and fight it. I can tell you that's a genuine, real guy. That's what we need. And we need school teachers and auto mechanics and cattle folks and shopkeepers and folks that own car repair shops, everybody, police officers, you name it. We're all in this together. We have to clearly state the choice of historical tyranny and bondage that the television and the movies and the sitcoms push as acceptable. The system's trying to acclimate this revolution against basic freedom. They're the revolutionaries. They're the attackers. They are the radicals. We have to realize that and have absolute courage and stand up against it, and we can defeat them. Now, to quantify it, we have to call the criminals out. We have to get aggressive. You have to go to every public event you can when Congress people come to speak and shout them down. And others will join you when you take the step of leadership. You have to go to every city council meeting every week. You know, forget going to the bar, forget going to the baseball game, forget going and having your glitterbug preacher tell you give them money or whatever on Wednesday night. Get down to the city council meeting and bring up citizens communication, whatever topics you want. Get the buzz intensifying all over grassroots. We have the majority. We have to let the majority know we are the majority. The last domino to fall is that those of us that love liberty are loners or are by ourselves or small numbers. Congress has a 6% approval rating, the lowest in history. I've never known of a dictatorship that had less support than that. Obama, even though it's a cult of personality where you buy into the brand, has like a 30% approval rating with only the most dependent type people that think in a cultish way. This system is absolutely weak, and it's alien, and it wants to destroy our prosperity in America. To bring the system down, you've got to bring the false system that's been projected over our republic and that is parasitically draining it. We want to restore the republic. We want to remove the false state, Homeland Security, Northcom, that has integrated itself in like the Vichy French Nazi occupying government over France. We need to identify it's an occupying collaborator government, literally. That's not rhetoric. We have a literal corporate globalist, eugenicist, technocratic, scientific takeover in their own words. They all brag about it, think you're dumb. The enemy, criminals always brag on their power trips to each other in books and white papers and C-SPAN. I'm telling you 100% their certified game plan is public. You're not hearing my opinion. That's why everything we told you about continues to come true in different permutations. We don't know exactly how it's going to unfold, but we know their goal. We know history. We know how things work. We know how they never quit. They only regroup. Well, we don't ever quit. And we always regroup. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome, because that's the animating contest of liberty. That's what it is to be alive. It's not work to fight tyranny. It's like breathing. You're going to quit breathing because it's so much work? No, it's part of living. So we've all got to up our game. We've all got to take it up another notch. That's how we're going to beat them. And I said to myself at about 6:30, I said, I'm going to come in and call for Obama to be arrested. I'm going to call for Christie to be arrested. He's been caught lying. Of course he ordered this. He got caught lying about who knew earlier. Claims he has thousands of employees, so you never know when it's his #1 henchman, his underling, his head of his staff. And stuff like this is what can bring things down. Something simple the public can get, shutting a road down. When people already got to pay $15-something to go across it on a toll road both ways, being shut down to pick their kids up, live their lives is some political war. This is why they want control. No normal person would think to do something like that, inconveniencing hundreds of thousands of people for hours, causing giant economic warfare terrorism. This is terrorism, but this is nothing compared to the real terrorism they engage in. Releasing the deadly flu bugs on record getting caught. Putting cancer viruses in the vaccines getting caught. Think I'm just saying that? Look it up. These people are murderers. Bayer Pharmaceuticals, knowingly for 11 years, had HIV and hepatitis in all their hemophiliac drug, Factor VIII, and knowingly shipped it out. And it was above just wanting the profit. A death sentence to every person that got it. Hundreds of thousands died in the last 20 years from this. This broke 10 years ago, went back 11 years before that. Bill Clinton was involved. The Canadian government was involved. They firebombed doctors' offices and robbed Hemophiliac Society the same night in the U.S. and Canada when all this came out. You understand that? Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Do you understand who these people are? They don't just not care about you. They like hurting people. They're bad, bad people. And you don't get into their clubs unless you're a sick crook. You can look at Bill Clinton, look at Obama, look at Chris Christie, look at those people. They are evil. You can look at Rand Paul and also look at his fruits. He's real. Will he get intimidated, threatened, bend sometimes? I'm sure. Confucius said that if the grass bends, but it comes right back. The difference is he's not consciously evil. And if it wasn't for Ted Cruz and Rand Paul and us and the Drudge Report and the real media, they would have passed their gun bans. They would have gotten it rammed through. They would have gotten everything else they're doing. Now they're doing it by executive order and by executive action, so we call them out as dictators. We call them out as the frauds they are. We tell it like it is, and that's the simple action. It hit me at 6:30 this morning that we've got to come out and call them dangerous would-be dictators who are overthrowing the country and who are occupiers and who are collaborators with foreign corporate interests. And then I walked in here and AP reports, Cruz calls president dangerous and terrifying. And the media is going to try to punish him, but all that does is make him more popular. Cruz calls president dangerous and terrifying. And it's true. We have to have leadership that will call it like it is. Let me tell you something. You have to have no dirt on you, and you've got to have huevos the size of watermelons to do that in his leadership role from a credible position. This is the kind of person they fear, ladies and gentlemen. Ted Cruz, look at him. Coming out at his level, it's one thing to be Alex Jones and talk like this. And it's another thing to be a news reporter and say things like that. They'll come after you. But when you start talking like that, that's what can bring them down. That's what scares them right there. We need mayors. We need police chiefs. We need grand jury heads. We need people that are in leadership positions, preachers that are listening right now who are afraid to lose their 501c3. You don't need a 501c3, idiot. You have the First Amendment. You're not a government institution. We need you to stop sitting there claiming you're just trying to save souls all day. You're going to save souls by exposing the huge demonic system around people, not sitting up there acting authoritative and acting like a father figure to your so-called flock. You preachers need to speak out against what's going on. We need men and women who have the hearts that love goodness to call the system out, to tell it like it is now. And that's really the epiphany. And it's really the same thing I say every day, but it just hit me so hard because I get really upset and not even so much down, but just distraught over how real this is. And if we could just wake people up to see it and understand it. The truth is the public is awake. Everything we talked about, the NSA, the checkpoints, the spying, the secret police, the death squads, they're trying to set all that up, but they can't admit it exists because then there'll be a debate about what they've set up. We forced them now to debate all this. We're forcing them into the light. We're identifying them. We're tracking them like fighter pilots locking on target. We're now locked on. And now we've just got to pull the trigger, punch the button, fire away, and take down the enemy politically. Good people have to take action and stand up and speak out. Stay with us. Symbols are powerful, and the globalists have hijacked the symbols of America. They've turned them into their own symbols. Well, we are restoring the idea of the true republic, not the counterfeit globalist empire, by promoting the icon George Washington and others. That's why we're rolling out on 100% made in America line of incredible pro-liberty apparel. We are repopularizing liberty. We are helping fellow Americans rediscover what made this country great. We are the spirit of 1776. We are 1776 worldwide. We are all brothers and sisters in arms in the animating contest of liberty in the long march towards humanity's ultimate destiny of freedom. Visit madein1776.com today and vote with your dollars to promote truly made in America, high-quality products, and promote the ideals of liberty. So there's 3 keys to victory. Getting your heart right with God, deciding which side you're on, because there is good and evil in this world. Whether you believe in a spiritual realm or not, there is the physical manifestation of things that we know are bad. Starving children, poverty, lies, fraud, systems based on coercion, not on free will. We need to decide, especially people that work in the system. We're not indicting you for being part of the system. This happened incrementally. We're all part of the system at one level or another. But now you've got to make a decision about what you're going to do and where you're going to stand. Because going along with the system will not keep things going, because this is a system designed to implode, a system designed to be more oppressive and destructive over time, not a better society. And that's exactly what O'Brien in 1984, as he's finally breaking him after months in a torture dungeon, explains to him. He says, Winston, we're not building a society that's going to be better and that goes to the stars. We're building a society that tramples and where you're trampled upon. Will you guys print me the text? It's 1984 is online everywhere. Just type in O'Brien, trampling and being trampled on. And then that'll pull up the paragraphs. Trampling and being trampled on. Because Winston was ready to sell out immediately, being tortured within a day. And he said, no, no, no. We're going to break your mind where you don't even know who you are anymore. And then we're going to put you back together again, believing whatever we tell you, that there's no gravity or there is gravity, that 2 + 2 = 7 or it equals 4 or it equals 18. We're going to make you delusional like we are, and then we're going to let you go drink synthetic gin for a few months, and then we're going to come and shoot you in the back of the head and throw you into a furnace, and your ashes will be dumped out into the atmosphere, and you will have never have existed. That was written by a MI6 high-level psych warfare technician, George Orwell, Eric Blair. And when you read that book, it is literally like the book O'Brien gives Winston when he's making him think that he's recruiting him into a secret liberty society. That book, 1984, is actually the Stalinistic Ingsoc program of Stalinistic systems integrated with English socialism to destroy the family, destroy words, and reduce people down to animals that grunt who serve the state. This is their actual plan, ladies and gentlemen. So, number one, you have to understand you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice. And a lot of you are scared of this system, and you should be. But you should be scared of not fighting back. We can stop this. We can get a reprieve like Nineveh. But we're going to have to really admit we're in deep you-know-what. We're going to have to really get real, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people around us aren't going to be able to handle this. A lot of people are cracking up out there. The numbers are there. Record suicide across the country, not just in the military, because the system's a fraud and people know that, and they can't deal with it. Well, I don't give the military people permission to kill themselves, and God doesn't want you to either. You should dedicate your life to helping others and to standing against the tyranny and to stopping abortions. That's what you're going to do. You don't get the easy way out because you're depressed and know that you were part of a fraud or a lie, or you're sick now because they put binary weapons into your bloodstream. You're going to have to fight. That's where you're going to find the answer to this and find your salvation. And that's what I say to the police and the bureaucrats and the technicians and the advertisement people and all the brains out there and all the muscle and all of it. We don't want to go down this road. Your gut knows that. If you've got any good left in you out there, in any consciousness, you know we're in red level crisis. And it's only going to get more insane. And as for me, I'm not turning tail. I'm not running. I'm going head on into this 110%. So number one, admit we're facing evil. Pure synthesized evil, because that's how it works. It's a survival of the fittest, social Darwinism of psychopaths and other forms of criminality under them. A literal legion of doom that competes with itself, so it synthesizes the most nasty traits. We have to stand against that at every level and have faith and have a will to resist. You have to set your will against the enemy. You have to set your will against them. You have to make the decision that you're not going to lose the arm wrestling match. You've got to make the decision that you're going to raise your kids right and be a good person. You've got to make the decision that you're going to bench press 400 pounds. You've got to make the decision you're going to work hard and make the right decisions. And it doesn't mean any of us are perfect, but you have to make the decision to get up out of bed in the morning. We have to make the decision that we got poison in our stomach, we ate bad food, we got to vomit the New World Order out. We got to stick our fingers down our throats and get this poison out of us. We've got to make the decision we want it out. And then that decision, from that free will, everything else flows. So you got to make the decision. You got to decide which side you're on, and then you've got to call out the enemy and say, I set myself against you, and then speak out and discredit them, and then physically begin withdrawing your consent. And it won't be at every level, it won't be in every way, it won't be perfect. But the thought, the intention to remove your support at every level and to challenge the system and to fight the system at every level and to build your own systems and to support other alternative systems. This is the essence of Renaissance. This is the essence of the Enlightenment. This is the essence of common law. It is the essence of freedom. It is veritas. You have to decide to wake up. You have to decide to then face the enemy. Let me read to you from 1984. As he's been torturing him on the rack and just pulled one of his rotten teeth out. Do you begin to see, then, what kind of world we are creating? It is the exact opposite of the stupid, hedonistic utopias that the old reformers imagined. A world of fear and treachery is torment. A world of trampling and being trampled upon. A world which will grow not less but more merciless as it refines itself. Progressives in our world will be the progress towards more pain. Agenda 21. The old civilizations claimed that they were founded on love or justice. Ours is founded upon hatred. In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph, and self-abasement. Everything else we shall destroy. Everything. Already we are breaking down the habits of thought which have survived from before the revolution. We have cut the links between child and parent, and between man, and between man and woman. No one dares trust his wife or his child or a friend any longer. But in the future, there will be no wives and no friends. Children will be taken from their mothers at birth. as one takes eggs from a hen. The sex instinct will be eradicated. Procreation will be an annual formality like the renewal of a ration card. We shall abolish the orgasm. This has actually been done in North Korea, by the way, with about half the population. Our neurologists are working upon it now. There will be no loyalty except loyalty towards the party. There will be no love except the love of Big Brother. Chapter 3, page 334. Read it. He was brought in to the major BBC psych warfare facilities. He wrote about this before he died. He died right after this book came out, by the way. And it probably wasn't tuberculosis, ladies and gentlemen. Arsenic poisoning is the word from the inside sources. He was high level. Fabian socialist, fought with the communists in Spain. He was secret police in India, came from an elite eugenics family. Tied into the Wedgwoods, the Galtons, Darwins, all of them. He came from a high-level technocrat family. And he wrote this book to warn people, okay? Eric Blair. Now, I hope you understand this, ladies and gentlemen. This is what they're going to do. This is what they write in their real publications. This is what they've got planned. Total dishonor. Total evil. Total fraud. Total emptiness. Now, do you like this plan? Because you hear that, you read that from 1984, and you realize today this is what's happening. You realize today this is the world they're building openly. Now, I'm going to ask you all again. Do you want to openly serve this? Who likes this out there? A very small percentage of people. The most of you do it because the economy's been set up to where you can't live unless you work in this self-destroying system, killing yourself to live. Killing your soul, your honor, everything your ancestors stood for in this total dishonor. But I'll say this, death before dishonor. What's the Green Beret Special Forces motto? Overthrow oppressors? Look it up for me. I forget the exact motto. Overthrow tyrants, death to tyrants. I mean, where are those creeds out there of honorable people? Why have the best soldiers always been people who actually were honorable and believed they were fighting for a good cause and were battling against overwhelming odds? Why could men like that, who were desperate for freedom, desperate for justice, one man could take out 10 men? The samurai wrote about that. The way of the samurai is desperateness. 10 men cannot kill such a man. Where is that spirit? I'm asking you now. This is total dishonor. Worshipping a bunch of stunted, gibbering, spiritually and physically ugly elite who produce nothing but ugliness and hate those of us that are virtuous. These people are an abomination. It is an incredible honor and a pleasure to set myself against them. I am no hero. I am red-blooded man. To define someone who stands against this evil as a hero is an abomination. Sucking air into my lungs, I'm not a hero, I'm alive. And it oxygenates my red blood. I'm alive. I'm a human. I like good things. That's not heroic. I stand against evil. That's not heroic. I burn with a desire for liberty and to see others empowered. I burn for humanity to work together and build incredible systems and structures and colonize space. I dream of our potential being reached. That's not heroic. My body will die, but I want my children to go on, and their children to go on, and their children to go on, and to be honorable men and women. I want to maintain the human species, not let it be mutated and destroyed, vandalized by these demons for their own power trips. They had a Satanist a few decades ago that went and killed the treaty oak where the Texas Constitution, Declaration of Independence, was filled out. And he buried several hundred pounds of weed killer into the roots of it in a satanic ritual, believing he had power out of killing the tree. Just like they get power out of torturing a little baby for 10 hours. And in that, you understand who they are. They want to kill this planet in a disgusting sacrifice to Baphomet. Well, I'll tell Baphomet and all his followers this. You were losers from the beginning, and you'll always be losers. And you'll never extinguish the Creator's creations. Only the Creator can do that. And you can't get my soul. And I'm going to do my best to warn other people so that their souls can't be sucked out by you people. You're disgusting. Make me want to throw up. To liberate the oppressed is the U.S. Army Special Forces slogan. Well, are you liberating the oppressed, or are you supporting al-Qaeda to oppress all over the Middle East? And that's why our military said, we're not going to do it, and there's going to be a military coup. We're going to start shooting people if you do an air raid and back al-Qaeda in Syria. I mean, that's basically what was relayed. And the establishment blinked, ladies and gentlemen, and they can blink all the way. If we just stand against these people and commit, it's over for the New World Order. Doesn't mean evil won't keep coming back. Doesn't mean we might not blow the earth up 5 years from now. The point is, you have to make the spiritual decision, or the decision in your core, whatever is at your heart, that you do not want to be part of this 1984 scenario. And look at it. It's all manifesting, because 1984 is a historical futurist allegory of what the world would look like. And Eric Blair, George Orwell, pen name, and Julian Huxley and Aldous Huxley, because the Huxleys wrote books about this, would have debates about whether it be a 1984 system or a Brave New World system. And Huxley said the Brave New World system is the dominant one being adopted, with an integration with your 1984 Stalinistic scenario. And both those books, one written in 1948, 1984, and the other written in 1932, Brave New World, if you read both those books, they've now, both of them come about 75, 80% true, and you can see the decks of cards being shuffled in together. And then you can go read where they wrote countless nonfiction books where this is the plan to build this. So understand, ladies and gentlemen, you're under attack. And the family is under attack. And everything good is under attack. And we are seeing the beginnings of a societal level collapse. And mass mental illness and artificially induced self-righteous narcissism events, where people care about being the top parrot on the tree instead of being a human who's conscious and awake. Everything is going into basically low-level simian drive. And the society is becoming very base and dishonorable and empty. And I don't want to be part of that. And believe me, I know it's hard with your family, my family, all of us. Even when you know this knowledge at a great level, your flesh is still strong, and none of us are perfect. But you just have to make the decision in your heart. And you have to do what Ted Cruz has done, coming out saying the president is dangerous and terrifying, because even if he's just a figurehead, Obama, for the corrupt system, that's what the public archetypally sees. We must expose the fraud of the system by exposing Obama. And notice Cruz is being catapulted to world renown, voted the most important political person in the world, even before the Pope last week in a major poll, because he has some courage and tells it like it is. And that's the other answer. People are looking for leadership. Face the facts, speak out against the system, become a leader now.
Now you can watch the InfoWars Nightly News streaming live as it happens for free.
Check it out at Infowars.com/show.